long time ago, there was a little 7-year-old girl who walked onto the Osceola High School campus into a huge room, in her opinion, with numerous trophies and plaques adorning the walls, and there were all these big kids in the room that she didn't know. So her body was glued to her mother's leg. The little girl went everywhere with her mom, but this wasn't a new experience. Music was a love of hers, thanks to her mom and dad. And so going to a music rehearsal was fun. Out from the office came this man she had never met before. Everyone seemed to love him, and he was kind enough to accept her as a little mascot. Unsure of all these people, she sat down on the piano bench next to her mom to be quiet and listen. That was the beginning of some incredible memories. Many times her mom would leave her for days on end with all those big kids and that man, Mr. Carswell, to a choral competition. In my room, she would cry and want to go with those big kids to that competition. The little girl would wait with anticipation for her mom's return to find out if the group had won. In her mind, the judges would be insane to not give them the award of Best Choir Ever. Yeah. Her mom would tell her, yes, they won, and she would jump up and down and cheer and hug her mom. Year passed into year of the same thing. And sometimes even those big kids would come to her house, and she thought she was so cool that all these high school kids were coming to her house and that they liked her. Finally, the day arrived for that little girl to begin her journey on her own. With her mom at the piano, she auditioned for the slightly older Mr. Carswell. With nerves jangling and butterflies flying and thinking, help me, Rhonda, help me, Rhonda. She did her best. The mom was just as nervous as she was, but she never had a doubt that her daughter would get into the group. Much to her surprise, she not only got into Osceola Singers, but she got into Dynasty and New Songs. She was having some good vibrations, that it was going to be a really wild ride. Rehearsals began the first day of school, and it was awesome. Dancing in New Song was kind of a new thing for this shy girl. The girl really wished that she could dance like those California girls. Mr. Carswell would beg her, shake your hips! But sadly, she had none. Many days after the rehearsal, she would be so down in the valley. Erasers had flown across the room. Music stands were knocked over in exasperation. Legs were cramping from standing on our tiptoes. Our tushies were sore from tightening. And eyebrows that virtually disappeared into our hairlines, all in the name of raising that song a half a pitch. We all wondered, will you love me tomorrow? In spite of all these workouts, we never gave up, and as a group, we would celebrate good times, come on, with every superior and excellence that we added to our collection. During the first competition of her high school career, this little babe thought to herself, boy, I get around between all of the music and all of the costume changes that she felt like she was surfing USA. After 2 years of hard work, it was time to start spreading the news. because Carnegie Hall called and the Osceola Singers were New York City bound. This was a dream come true for all of us. Once we arrived, everyone stayed close together. And as they walked the streets in awe of the city that never sleeps, on our journeys down these city streets, we turned many heads. Not for our singing, but for our lovely, stylish attire. Bright banana yellow jackets that we were required to wear everywhere. We looked like the biggest banana on the planet. Turned quite a few heads. Ah, the things memories are made of. It was very strange to not be directed by Mr. Carswell or have Mrs. Heath at the piano, but they were our biggest fans and cheered us on for the performance of a lifetime. As her senior year dawned and plans for the future were made, it was very difficult to think of life without the influence of her beloved director. More superiors and excellence were achieved, and soon the time came for the end of the year banquet, a culmination of 4 years of hard work and amazing memories. The honor of Outstanding Senior Female was presented to her, and her mother was honored for 11 years of being Mr. Carswell's accompanist, which was her mother's last year of playing with Mr. Carswell. This mother-daughter duo looked at each other and thought, looks like we made it, but breaking up is hard to do. We all went our separate ways, and many of us have never seen each other till tonight. Never did the memories leave her, and never did she find another choral director to come close to the expertise of Mr. Carswell. That little girl is now 41 years old and back in the presence of her beloved director and a man who played a huge influence in her life. I feel honored to say I am that little girl.